Everybody ready? Cody, make sure you let me know if this light behind me is unflattering in any way, right? Yep. I don't want to have to turn the back of my head to the I don't want to have to turn the back of my head to the camera ever again. Good afternoon and welcome to the Monday, March 2nd meeting of the Orono Town Council. We're starting at 4 o'clock today. Not in observance, I suppose, but out of respect of Ramadan, and we'd ask if anyone has an agenda item they'd like us to move up before sundown at 5:14 today. We'd welcome anyone to make that request. Hearing none, seeing none, we've got a pretty full agenda. We'll start, as we always do, with roll call. We have Councilor Hardison, Councilor Marks, Councilor Demerit, Councilor Powers, Councilor Baker, and Councilor Quinn in attendance. I've not heard from Rob, so we'll welcome him if he joins us. Agenda review. This is a spot on our agenda where we list all of the various things that have been referred to committee for reminders to us as members of the council and the public. We also look at tabled items. I don't believe we have any tabled at this time. And agenda review and clarifications. I have one item I'd like to move. Does anybody have anything before I make my request? Shelley Crosby's here with us, and she is our extremely capable staff liaison to the Ordinance Review Committee. And I'd like to move up. She has to leave by 4:30 today. I'd like to move up the item Order 2632 to the very start of the meeting to give Shelley a chance to kind of walk us through the Road Streets memo and our process moving forward. Is there any objection to anybody here not want to accommodate Shelley? See how I asked that question in a way that was really hard to say no? All right, so without objection, why don't we move that right up until after, let's do the approval of minutes, and then Shelley will take you right after that. Okay. Item 3 on our agenda is approval of the minutes. We have the minutes from the 2026 February 9th Town Council meeting minutes. Could I have a motion on that?
Moved. Second.
Then second, any questions, suggestions, edits, amplifications? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of approval of minutes? That's unanimous, 6-0. And now again, before public comments, we're going to ask Shelley to come in and present Order 2632. I guess let's first put it on the table. Could I have a motion on Order 2632 setting the date of March 23rd, 2026 at 5 p.m. for a public hearing to consider amendments to the Town of Orono Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34, Streets and Sidewalks?
Moved.
Moved and seconded. Shelley Crosby.
Yes, Shelley Crosby, Town Clerk. And as Dan had stated, I am the staff liaison to the Ordinance Committee in the review process of our entire municipal code project. And on the agenda, Order 2632 states what the intent or the next logical step would be following the work of the committee. So we are seeking tonight to have the council approve an order to place this on the upcoming March 23rd at 5 p.m. agenda, a public hearing to move this forward. Just to give you a very quick Reader's Digest version of what's taken place. So the departments have met that are involved with this ordinance. That would be the police department, and it was Police Chief Dan Merrill, the Public Works Director Earl Labonte, and his assistant, which would be our Environmental Services Manager Megan Hess, and then our new Planning Director EJ Roach and myself. So we met over several months back when the council had this on their watch list as being something that they wanted to advance to the front of priority ranking for ordinance changes. And that was a result of there being some community outreach and feedback about some of our roads and streets and towns that was becoming a concern. We also had heard from the Public Safety Department that they were having some issues around fines and violations and how the street list was developed and or being maintained within the ordinance. And then, of course, when we did the good old-fashioned review of the ordinance and realized the last time it had been updated for thoroughness and completeness was like in the mid-90s, we realized that this definitely rose to the rank that we needed. The best way, I think, for you to see the work that happened over a series of months is to follow the memo that I drafted that went to Town Manager Clint DeShane. It had an original date of January 27th, and then, of course, it was updated as we continued our work. But in that memo, it identifies the areas or the goals of this ordinance when we got to the end of it. We wanted to see the chain of command be clarified. We wanted to see that Orono addressed the lack of a taxi cab ordinance, and were we actually going to continue to aspire to have a taxi cab ordinance? And of course, the memo addresses that. And we also took a look at the administration of how we restrict parking on streets. Two of the things that we heard from the council that they wanted us to also focus in on and look at efficiency around was how the council takes streets into consideration for restricted parking, and or if you have an open forum and a resident comes to the podium and expresses a concern, what is the policy or what is the procedure for the council to act and be responsive and offer transparency to our community? So that was one of the goals of the policy. The second overarching goal was that we wanted to see the roads and the streets become more of an annual review process, much like your schedule of fees, that would have a logical timeline and would have a logical manner in which it would be brought before the council, it would be decided on, and then staff could execute in the day-to-day operations how that street or that road was maintained. In the fact that we haven't reviewed the policy in some time, we were able to look at this policy with a new lens of technology. And I'm very excited to say that some of us were able to put our heads together with the committee and come up with some new technology and innovative practices that we could implement if this policy gets changed and revised. And if that was to happen, then I think that we would be a very progressive community within the state of Maine. And there would no longer be a question of anybody who visits Orono where they could or couldn't park. So all those things are addressed within the memo and are addressed in the changes. As you review the document going forward over the next couple of meetings, I would recommend that the best way for you really to read it and get a solid understanding is to read the clean copy. And then if something seems like suspect, or you're like, this isn't making sense to me, or I don't remember it that way, it changed a lot, then go back and look at your redlined copy. If you're not used to doing this kind of work and you try to figure it out from the red line copy, you're going to get frustrated. And I only say that because I've worked with lots of municipalities that get frustrated with ordinance work because they focus in on the red lined copy. Okay. But outside of that, I'm here to answer any quick questions. And that's a good solid overview of the work.
Okay, any clarifying, this is an action item, so we'll handle it in terms of clarifying questions, comments from the public, and then council discussion. So any clarifying questions for Shelley from members of the council? Yep. Would any member of the public like to be heard on this item? Okay, any value statements or, topics? Jacob?
Just a question for Clint. I know that when we were working on the issue on Penobscot Street, we talked about ability to post streets, etc. And I was of the attitude that I thought it should be easier, but you had a very good explanation as to why it is the way it is and why it should be a little more difficult. Can you just remind me what that is? And then I'm assuming these changes incorporate that rationale.
Yeah, they dealt with it. I think Shelley even began to explain it, but I mean, the biggest reason why an ordinance, it's there and it's fine, it's defined in quote unquote ordinance or law. So the biggest issue we'll have is to make sure that people can find the list that we do, and that's why they're addressing it, that we'll do it annually. So we'll have it posted clearly on the website and it will never change. And then we don't have to have people dig through to a ordinance to find out what roads are listed. And as she explained, and we knew at the time, it had been a while since we had looked at what roads are posted and why.
I would also add, if the police chief, myself, and the public works director are debating on which roads are closed and when and where, that's a problem. So we're hoping to make it much more seamless.
I think it's anybody else? I think it's a really good example of staff coming together, and I'm excited to have the public hearing and the conversation. And just so one thing that was clear to me, you made clear to me that I think is helpful to understand is we're not advocating a series of, this isn't the hearing and process where we're going to decide what roads to close, when, where, and how. This is going to be how we set the ordinance up so we can do that work in the year to come. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes, that would be correct.
Yeah.
Currently set up right now, you would have to have an ordinance change every single time you adjust a street. And that really is not good practice. As a council, you want to have the opportunity to be more responsive to the public in a timely fashion. And so we would prefer to see that be almost an exhibit or an addendum to it. So we set up the framework of what it looks like, and then you can deal with the issues as they come up more timely.
Yep. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Shelley, thanks so much for being with us, and thanks for accommodating the time change. Any more questions on this before we have a vote? We're gonna vote to set the public hearing March 23rd, 2026. And then assuming we move forward, we'd have Clint write the one public hearing and then act on it a month out or 2 weeks, a month out? Okay. All those in favor of Order 2632? Okay, that's unanimous. All right, let's move back to our regularly scheduled town council agenda. And for those who have an interest, as I do, as we all do in the library, we're going to plan to start that meeting, a town council workshop on the library at 5:30 p.m. For those tuning in, coming in to learn about all things library, that's the time that we'll start that. Item 4 is public comment. Does anyone have any public comment for us this evening? All right, we'll move on. There's another chance to have public comment at the end of the meeting, and we always welcome people to participate in our agenda items as we move forward. Item number 5 is presentations and discussion items. So we're going to start with a conversation on the Orono stops survey data, and I believe our team from the community development is going to present on that. Yep, John?
Yeah, so I can speak briefly. I just wanted to share the process that we've been going through recently, what we did with some of the data, how we kind of put it all together into a product that we can hopefully deliver to the town staff. The Orono stop survey responses that we initially received, we took some time to discuss and really work to identify where there was overlap in the responses, where there was patterns that were showing up around consistent issues and consistent areas, and work to consolidate that list down. We were looking at what we're going to do with that next and decided that developing kind of an objective priority list would be a useful next step. So we worked to create a rubric to score these areas. That rubric focused on a scale 1 to 5, focused on danger, risk to life and safety, focused on the potential for that to be addressed by an upcoming project in the future, the clarity of the issue, if it was something where the cause of it seemed really apparent from the start, or if it was maybe more complex issue, the clarity of any potential solutions that were out there, as well as the number of people that were impacted. And we weighted them accordingly, that life and safety was weighted a little heavier potentially than something like whether or not it was addressed in an upcoming project. And we ranked we went through the 30 kind of identified issues, ranked them all, and came up with a product that was pretty in line with the frequency of responses that we received. And I think did a good job of hopefully providing a product that we can pass along to the town staff. They can look through what has been identified as those top priorities and come back with a plan. We understand as members of this committee and putting this information together, not road engineers, we're not traffic engineers. This is kind of reporting out like this is what we found in the survey data. And I guess kind of my expectation from that is from what the next step will look like is that it may not be okay, we're rolling dump trucks right this moment. It may be okay, we're going to look at this further. There's probably going to be a lot of steps that come from this, but hopefully this is a good way to prioritize what the community's identified as its top needs in terms of traffic safety.
And just to piggyback on that, this list is a priority list. This is not a solutions or to the town. We're not requesting that they do anything. This is a priority, and then we'll see what solutions the experts in the field can give us as we move forward.
So in terms of our next conversation, envision the committee gets feedback from staff based on how these things have been prioritized and feedback. And at some point, I know they're not a priority list, but I do like urgency, right? I mean, at some point, we're going to start bringing some of these back forward to the full council and the community for a broader conversation about which things we think need to be moved forward and how we sequence them and resource them for implementation. Is that how you two members of the committee see it as well?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I think this is with the data that we have, these are the priorities. Like I think we have kind of extracted everything of value out of that, out of the data that we have.
Yep.
And I think the next step is like, okay, what's actionable here and how does it fit into the capital plans and like, what is existing within the resources of the town.
That's great. I think we'll be able to do like a report back to the community too, right? In terms of how things are moving forward.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
just part of
next
our
step.
meetings is.
Yeah. I think next steps after we have a meeting with the town, and then we can bring back the priorities to the town council and we can also just show the community this is what the product is.
Yep.
But we want to have one more meeting to talk to the town before we get to that step, and then bring it before the town council for further direction.
Excellent. Now, anything else? Any questions for the committee? I did have everybody okay? Yep. I did want to share that Shane Martin, who lives not on College Avenue, but near College Avenue, reached out with some concerns on College Avenue safety issues. And there were several points in today's meeting where he could have kind of stepped in as public comment. He could have come in on the public hearing. I mean, the order we just had, but I asked him to kind of join us to share a little bit about his thoughts about safety issues over there related to traffic. So, Shane, would you introduce yourself? And yep.
Edgehill Road is off. Do I get some?
Yeah.
That way I can hear you better. Can you hear me? To bring my on? No. Yes. Okay. Now it is. All right. My name is Shane Martin. I'm a resident of Ledge Hill Road, which is off College Avenue near Stillwater Village apartments. College Avenue is my neighborhood, both as a pedestrian, I'm a runner, and as a driver. Couple of areas of concern. The most recently reported was in and around the hockey games, where on February 14th, I attended a game and noticed large numbers of cars parked on both sides of College Avenue. I called the non-emergency police line to get this fact on the record. And then the following week, on the 20th, there was another game, which I didn't attend, but I decided to take a run during the game from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and I ran down College Avenue from the Old Town line on the campus side all the way to Munson Road, which is a prohibited by ordinance parking area, the whole stretch, and counted 126 cars. When I ran back, I counted, I ran back on the other side, and the other side isn't as restrictive. There are a number of no parking areas, and it's kind of hard to tell that which are no parking coming back against traffic that way, just because of the way the signs are placed. But from approximately the steam plant up until, where was it? Roughly Charles Street, I counted 103 cars on that side of the road. Some of them were legal, probably. Most, I think, were illegal. Some I know were encroaching on so-called bus stops, which, given the way the bus system has changed, instead of flagging a bus, they've posted various signposts around town that, per ordinance, you can't park close to them. So as in several manners, that's a concern. Now, when I did my email to Mr. Deshane and Mr. Demerick, I broke it down into facts, which I pretty much covered, and then history, and then what I called editorial comment. The key point in history was on November 7th, 1997, in the evening, there was a basketball game at Alfond Arena. At that time, they played basketball there. A pedestrian was killed in the vicinity of Alfond Arena crossing College Avenue. And per the 1998 Orono Town Report in the police chief's section, the pedestrian was at fault because she darted across the road. The 22-year-old student had to live or I assume student, I don't know that as a fact, had to live the rest of his life knowing that he'd killed somebody due to the chaos on College Avenue at that time. Now, I know things have changed. They block off the road up onto campus right there. But I think the notion of chaos has creeped back into College Avenue in and around sporting events. And as we know, football season, the same thing happens. At night, it's hazardous. As a driver, you're scared. I try to avoid that stretch of road during events because I don't want to run somebody over that pops out between a car. So that covers that. Another area of concern that I had expressed in email last August is that we have two houses of worship on College Avenue. The Wilson Center and the Newman Center has reopened this past fall, neither of which have any crosswalks in the proximity to the facility, versus the Islamic Center of Maine, Church of Universal Fellowship, each have two crosswalks proximate to their facilities. I think adding some crosswalks to the houses of worship on College Avenue would be useful. As a driver, when I go by the Wilson Center, I very often will drive up College Avenue on Monday evenings around 6:30 to 7. And there's some sort of a meeting they have at that time. And you see cars parked on both sides of College Avenue. They're legally parked, but it's kind of scary not knowing where somebody's going to come out of the road. So you have to slow down very carefully and then proceed through. With the Newman Center, we've upped the services we have there. We now have services Saturday morning, 2 on Sunday, and Tuesday evening. So there's more attendance there. Yes, we have a parking lot, but typically there's spillover parking to both sides of College Avenue. So that I would say that concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yep.
I know that we had an opportunity, and this was not, I guess, I don't think it was all the councils were copied, but Clint and I were copied. I appreciate you reaching out and sharing that and coming in this evening or this afternoon. I did share it with Chief Merrill, and I know that we've got, there's a group, I don't know if it's I don't know what the name of the group is, but Chief Merrill was able to respond back about meetings that he has and his town staff have with members of our university, our university partners about what's going on over there. Dan, I don't know if you've got anything you want to share now, or if this is something, and I know I didn't ask you to ahead of time, so. Shocking.
It's electric. I'm that good.
Which-
For those that missed it at home, I just got shocked. I can make it pretty short.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, due to the snow last week, we did not have our scheduled meeting on Tuesday. But for the little bit of the backstory, there is a meeting that is held the last Tuesday, Mitch? The last Tuesday of every month with myself, the fire chief, the assistant town manager, and members of public safety and infrastructure up at the university. And it's a monthly meeting we've been having since, I would say, this past summer. So it's been 6 or 9 months. And the spirit of it is to reconnect, knowing that there's been changes in a lot of leadership positions, and reconnect and talk and see where there may be issues that need to be discussed. So topics such as this is something that we would bring forth to a meeting, and I had a plan to before the snowstorm hit last week. So it's something that I can bring forth to them at the next meeting, which will be in
End of
the end
March.
of this month.
Yeah. And of course, hockey season's done now, so
Yep.
until graduation, it looks like we probably won't have any
I'm-
massive. Yeah.
Yeah. So also I'm on a committee that the University of Maine is putting together for commencement. So I can tell you that I know parking along College Avenue is an item that we've talked about. And as I understand it right now, we're planning to just not allow parking on College Avenue whatsoever on commencement. For a variety of reasons. But this other topic of sporting events and stuff is definitely something we can bring forward to see what athletics can do to help out and be good partners.
Okay. Good. Any questions, or I know that extended the item longer than it should have been, but what would,
I was just going to
John?
say, just kind of generally, and I appreciate you coming and sharing like your experience on College Ave in particular, that we have this document that's a snapshot in time, and just want to encourage people to continue to communicate, as new things come up, or if, as we get this information out there, if they're not seeing the thing that they think should be on the list, still reach out and utilize the non-emergency number, utilize the emergency number when it's appropriate. And
Yep.
that this isn't, the work we've done so far on this has not been a end all be all.
Yeah. I'm good, Matt.
Yeah, and I want to say that crosswalks on College Avenue, that you're echoing something other people have said. You're bringing new information though on the houses of worship that I appreciate with that. But yeah, you're echoing things that other people have said. So thank you for bringing that.
I'm excited to hear about these meetings every final Tuesday of every month. And I understand why I'm not invited, so I'm not offended, but kidding. But I'm excited those meetings are happening, and could we look to, as you delve into this issue more, could we get an update at some point that we can make sure Shane
Yeah.
hears about? And
I would
Yeah.
assume that it's something I can maybe put in a manager's report, or I can do an update or something at the April meeting-ish.
that's a perfect way to, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something
Really
we
do
can circle back on for sure.
Yeah.
Because the meetings they're ongoing. It's
Yeah.
scheduled. It's in all of our calendars. We have them. So
Yeah.
it'll happen.
Those are important conversations. So on so many fronts, I think. So, yep. Yep. Anything else? Okay. Dan, thanks. And sorry to call you up without a prep. Yeah. And let that be a lesson for the rest of you. Anytime, at a moment's notice. All right. And Shane, thanks for coming in, and thanks for the messages. I really appreciated the kind words you had to say about members of the police department as well in your message. All right. That wraps up number 5A. Now we're going to have a public hearing. I will open public hearing A on the FY 2027 Capital Improvement Program. We've already had one public hearing on this, as I recall, and we've had discussions. So I don't know if we need another presentation, but is there anybody who'd like to be heard on the Capital Improvement Program? Okay. Seeing none, I guess I would close the public hearing on perhaps the fastest. We have it as an action item later on if you want to talk about it, right? Okay. All right. Fastest public hearing we've ever had. We've had some quick ones. All right, we'll close that public hearing and go to number 7, acknowledgement by council members. And Councilor Hardison, since you're eager to get involved? We'll start on your side of the table and work our way left to right.
Just a thank you to the University Club Frisbee team for their help yesterday with the public potluck supper.
Excellent. Council Marks?
A pass.
Okay. Council Powers?
Yeah, I can't get out of my mind the trip that I had down to the wastewater plant. So thank you, Chris Prue. That's just constantly on my mind now, and I in good way, in a good way, and also it's a very enlightening thing. So I hope that any person in the community who I know other people have thanked it, but I'm still thinking about it, and I hope other people will take advantage of learning more about where our water goes when it goes down the drain.
Talk to John. John can help you with this, right? It's during his day job. Yeah. Council Biggs?
Nothing from me.
Council Quinn?
Nothing for me today.
Yeah. I would share, we had a chance, Governor Mills came to town today. We had a chance to celebrate a new deal or partnership at the Mainview Apartments right down the street here. That the building was being transferred in ownership, and there was a risk of losing the ability to have affordable housing there. And many community partners, including USDA, the Maine Housing Authority, the Old Town Housing Authority, Genesis Community Loan Fund came together to find a solution for that. I met one gentleman who a year ago was living in a Jeep in Bangor, and now he has an affordable apartment in Orono, and he absolutely loves living here. And so that was great to hear and great to be a part of, and it was nice to have the governor in town to celebrate that. I want to thank Laura Mitchell for inviting the town. I know others, members of the economic development staff were involved in that, and were there as well. So wanted to acknowledge that and thank everybody who helped make that possible. Okay, item 8, the consent agenda is an opportunity for us to move things in block without debate or discussion. As is always the case, any member of the public or any member of the council can ask for something to be moved off the consent agenda and be considered as an separate action item. Anything need to be moved? Okay. Hearing that, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All right, all those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Now we're going to do action items. We already did order 2632, and now we'll take up order 2633, an order approving ordinance amendments to the Town of Orono Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Finance, Division 2, Purchasing. Could I have a motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Either Jacob or Clint, do you want to give us just a quick overview for members of the public on what this is? We've already had public hearings on this, right? So this is...
Yeah, this is just the culmination of a year's plus of work or discussions by the Finance Committee to bring our purchasing practices more into line with current times and also with, how things are currently operating, and stipulates when town manager and town staff have to come to council for request to spend funds, and also when a formal bid has to go out. And generally speaking, it just raises those thresholds just to make everybody's life more efficient, while still allowing the council to provide transparency and public awareness for how we're spending their money.
Excellent. Any clarifying questions? Any comments from the public? Any council discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you to the Finance Committee and staff for good work on that. I'll turn to order 2634, an order approving ordinance amendments to the Town of Orono Code of Ordinances, Chapter 38, Vegetation. Can I have a motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Clint, I don't see Megan. Do you want to?
Yeah, this one also has been council's had a couple conversations on it. Started with the first piece that started, I guess, was an appeal of a decision on the tree board. So what we'd realized, there's no appeal process. The committee went through it, made other changes as well. We had a public hearing on those. It now puts the appeal process in some better terms for the people to come to the town manager if there's an issue to resolve. Like I said, that was no changes from the public hearing to now.
Okay. Any clarifying questions? So if you approve an appeal, you're not going to take it out of the town council contingency budget from now on, right?
Not anymore.
Only that one, only when we.
Yeah.
All right. Any comments from the public? Any discussion by council? All those in favor of order 2634? That is unanimous. And for those watching at home, there was several meetings and lots of discussions about these things. It seems quick when it goes like this, but it's been a lot of work. Order 2635, order authorizing continued work with Benchmark for the phase 2 complete design of 56 Main Street. Can I have an order? A motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We're going to hear from a couple of staffers, it looks like. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen.
I almost got shocked again.
You should let him go
introduce
first.
myself.
Yeah.
I didn't introduce myself the first time, so Dan Merrill, Police Chief.
Earl
And-
Bonte, Public Works Director.
So we wanted to just talk at a real high level. I think Clint did a really nice job with the memo that he put forth on where we're at with Benchmark. Essentially, as I understand it, we are on track and on budget, and we can prepare to move forward if the council has, is comfortable with what Benchmark has brought forward for an estimate is basically what we're talking right now. The estimate you'll see does include an attachment for a Sally port that is a critical piece to the police department being an effective use building. But even with that Sally port attachment addition, it does still come within the budget that the council set forth for the project. So we would essentially recommend that the project move forward as is. Just so people know, I don't want to drag this out anymore, but when we talk about Benchmark and CWS, I do have Jason Gendrasco with Benchmark, who's the president of Benchmark online tonight, listening in because he was interested to see what the council would have to say. And if there were any questions that maybe I couldn't answer at a very high level, then I could solicit his assistance. But essentially, just see if the council has any questions about where we're at on the path.
Okay. Are there any clarifying questions for members of council? Council Marks.
Yeah, just a very simple clarifying question. When we're looking at these layouts of the proposed construction.
Yep.
I'm probably just missing it. There's probably a north, south, east, west or something marked or something telling me which side is the street and which
Yeah.
side is the back, but
Yep.
I can't quite be sure that I have it correct. Could you clarify that?
Cody, do you have the ability to pull up that attachment quickly, just so we can talk about it so I can see it?
I mean, I've been as,
Essentially, if you were looking at the building across the street,
mhm.
the administrative offices where it says chief and the captain and bathroom would be the ones that are at the bottom of the page, I believe.
So the part that juts out, that looks like a small room jutting out, is that in the back of the building where the current like covered pull through is? Or
Yes.
where is that little part that
Yes.
juts out?
Yep.
That's the back.
Yep. So there's like
So
a
the
box
left-
that's on the back side. That's where the current teller lane is. Yep.
Okay, so the left side of the page is facing out to Main Street then?
Nope, the left side of the page would be facing down Main Street or Pine Street, excuse me.
Oh,
Because the
Okay.
teller lane is all the way at the back.
yeah, I don't think so.
It's on its side. It's a
If someone could
The
just
left
clarify for me
side,
where the
this
roads
is
are, that would help.
Jason. This is Jason with Benchmark, if you can hear me.
There's
The left side of the page is facing Main Street.
Okay,
Yes. Yep.
and so the top of the page is Pine Street going down the hill.
Yes.
That's correct.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. And obviously the two lanes that you see are the existing concrete teller lanes that are there in the building right now behind where it juts out on the back. And just for a point of reference too, I know we talked to Jason about this too. We just want to really let people know that, just because we're on budget now doesn't mean that staff isn't going to continue to look at grants. I know I have somebody that keeps sending me grant recommendations. I just got one on Friday. So to be responsible to the budget, we are still looking for opportunities that we have, whether it's through energy efficiency grants or other funding revenue sources to make sure the project stays on budget.
And then I just had a question. You mentioned the Sally port, and
Yes.
it's not on this drawing. I know that. Is it intended to be on that back side?
Yes, so it is not. I think I can speak for Clint fairly in that when we were originally tasking Benchmark and CWS, who's the architecture firm who designed this initial concept for us, we gave them a very tight budget, right? And we said, see what you can get within the confines of this building as it is right now with no Sally port. Give us that budget. So when you look at the quote that was provided, that's the $2.9 million mark. And then the addition that says attachment A is the addition of the Sally port space that I would argue is a critical infrastructure piece and would be like building a house without a bathroom, if I'm being completely honest with the council.
Is part of that just real quick, does that have a drain in it?
It will have
Okay,
it
good.
will have all the necessary floor drains in it, and it will be well done. I have all the confidence in the world. I don't know how to talk about a Sally port space any other way other than it'll be safe, secure, and functional.
I think
Those are the
maybe
three things that we need.
like just defining Sallyport for anyone who might be listening. My understanding is that it's actually an enclosed space to which you could pull a cruiser in, and it's not just for cleaning, but it's also for having a secure space if someone has been arrested or is exiting the car. Could you just speak to, I mean, Sallyport to me honestly didn't
Yep.
mean anything until
Yep.
I started asking people questions last week.
Great question. So you're 100% right. I would say that a Sally port is more about creating a safe and secure space that staff can enter and exit the building if they need to, if we do have somebody, specifically if we have prisoners, right? We don't want to, in inclement weather when it's snowing, be having to walk somebody from the outside of the building in where, like if you were to go to a jail or any other current facility, if you have the ability to pull into a Sally port, it looks much like a garage to many people, right? But it's not like a garage at your house. We don't store vehicles in there overnight because, that wouldn't be practical. They're used for cleaning them, safe transport. And I would argue it's a best practice for a law enforcement building, to have that safe haven, especially here in the Northeast.
Security for transport or transferring your prisoner too.
Yeah, yeah. So it's more about safety and security and best practicing, I would say. It's not a storage space for vehicles.
Go ahead. Yeah.
And just to again clarify, what's on the basement level now is primarily going to be locker rooms and evidence storage. And am I
Yeah.
missing a big thing that would be at the basement level?
No, primarily it's all the mechanical rooms, evidence,
The locker rooms.
yeah, the locker room changing area space. It will be all of so when they say quartermaster on there, that's all of our equipment storage. So all of our gear, extra storage for that. I think the one in the middle that's between mechanical is where we would keep like, our firearms equipment and stuff like that. So it's all very usable space down there.
And my last one is, I wanted to ask a little bit about the size of the lobby. I think it's marked right on the front with the main door coming in on the upper level. It looks like maybe there's just two chairs sitting there. I guess my question about this lobby space goes back to some of our discussion about if we do have folks that are unhoused during terrible weather events. There had been some discussion that at least in Bangor, the lobby in the police station is a place where people can get inside when temperatures are insanely low. I don't know, but I want us to at least be thinking about what our lobby space looks like in this building and whether there is space for that if things are truly dangerous outside. So I'm looking at that and that looks like a very small lobby to me, but I'm wondering if someone could speak to that.
Jason, have you incurred that at all? I know that it is ADA compliant, but it is not generous in size because we're not flush with an abundance of space, right? So to be able to fit the administrative and staff offices and all the things that we needed on the first floor. So if you look at the first floor, I see the first floor as being where staff uses that 90% of the day, right? Staff's going to spend 90% of their day on the first floor. Downstairs, you would have equipment, you would change, and you may go down there and retrieve some pieces of equipment. But all in all of the administrative staff and all of the officers working are going to come and go from the first floor of the building. So with that, knowing that we needed a lobby and we wanted to have a lobby that was big enough and welcoming enough for people to come into. I would say that it is not overly sized because we don't have the space in the confines of what we need. So Jason, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the very first little small square that you have is the vestibule, just like you'd have in the police department, like we have now, where you'd come in and if it was after hours, you'd have a phone on the wall. And that was how you'd get a hold of an officer if it was, at nighttime at 6 o'clock. Or during the day when our secretary is there, you'd come in through that vestibule and then come into the lobby, and then her office would be right there. So that little smaller vestibule area would actually be locked at night, just like it is now, where you could come in. Really, somebody could come in and get in there if they were really, really hard up, right, in the middle of a really cold night or something. They wouldn't be able to get into the actual lobby area, but they'd be able to seek refuge in that vestibule.
Which would at least be out of the wind. Okay, thank you.
Did I miss anything there, Jason?
I think you did a perfect job, Dan. The big challenge is how do we meet the needs to be able to operate and serve the community within the square footage of the building now? And that's what got us to where we are. But that doesn't mean it is a closed discussion as we continue forward. And we'll perhaps we can also work with the other downtown community buildings that are directly across the street from here.
Well, that's interesting. Okay. Jacob, you had something?
Yeah, it's beyond clarifying though.
I'm going to allow it.
All right. I appreciate that,
Yep.
Master Chairman.
Yep.
Um,
Just chairman's fine. Chair per chair. Per chair.
I guess I'm just for the record, my concern is that it's an awfully low price and we're going to run into overrun. So my first question is the 6% contingency. Typically I've seen closer to 10% on construction projects. Can you speak to why it's only 6% on this, or why we're comfortable with only 6% in this project?
I'm pointing to you, Jason.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. So typically we are between 6 to 10% on a contingency standpoint. On this design, we did consult with a few of our subcontractors that we have partnerships with around our pricing. Everything at this stage is square foot and historic data. But we did lean on some of our subcontractors to get a little bit of feedback to help with that and to hold that contingency where it sits. We certainly can move the contingency line up. We also felt when we carry a larger contingency, there's more earthwork component to it. That's where most of our unknowns are. But we've done upfront design and investigation on the structural level. We opened up the walls and looked into the building a little bit further and deeper. That helped us to pre-plan some of these components as well.
Perfect. No, thank you. Again, I have an overall concern about this running over the 3 million. So just a larger contingency would help that, but it also would make the budget more than 3 million. So I guess it's here nor there. Another question. Give a budget for FF&E, so tables, chairs, all of that, and how we're going to fund that.
So Jason and I talked about that. We don't necessarily have a designated call out. As it explained to me, is it would be move-in ready to the point where we would bring in any furnitures that we have already. And depending on where the budget stood, we could look into purchasing new furniture for the building. But as of right now, there isn't like a call out for a fully furnished building. He is constructing the space that we need, and then it will be our job to fund it. And I've talked with Clint about that too, even for the budget this year, to see if there's any money that we need to allocate aside.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'd be interested in hearing that, because if it's another 100,000 or 200,000 to fit up the building, that is just part of the overall project cost. So
So again, coming into this, I mean, I have worked similar projects to this. They're usually a lot tighter on budgets. So back to your contingency questions, they usually are more accurate. And I would support his statement that you usually will see less change orders and cost increases if they're done correctly. We'll know in June where we're at for a firm budget. So you'll be another authorization then, and we'll know where we're at with the FF&E. And as he alluded to before, we are hopeful for a few grants. And all those grants will reduce the overall cost because it's to the construction. It's not for add-ons. It's for complementing our current costs. So I think we're good. It's not perfect. And I would also clarify, mentioned about a 3 million roughly construction budget, 3.5 total per the memo. That's where we're at, 3.5.
With the land acquisition and everything.
Yep.
No, I understand. Okay. Final question, then I'll be done. The one thing that jumped out at me in the contractor budget is that it didn't include things like FF&E and other things, but no evidence room and locker, gear locker. And I guess when I toured the police station, those seemed like, I don't know, I would expect those to be expensive pieces of the overall project.
Those are in there. If you look at the itemized
second.
list
Yeah.
that was in there, evidence lockers are in there, locker room lockers are in there. Again, they're allocations.
Like
The-
weapon storage, the big
Yep.
okay.
Yep,
perfect.
there are. So Jason and I met about a week or so ago and we talked about just that. And we went through the whole, like one of the memos that's in there is a whole line item budget. So there are placeholders for things such as that. I mean, there's placeholders for signage, there's placeholders for the locker rooms, evidence pass-through stuff. So as I understand it, and I think Clint spoke to it, outside of the desks and the chairs that would exist in the police department, it'll be fully operational. I mean, there's camera systems in there, and a whole slew of other things that are included in the itemized list that Jason has spec'd for us. I would say the budget of this whole, the whole topic of this is.
So I'm not going to go
to
line
be-
by line. I really thought in the contract it specifically excluded equipment lockers, but that's fine. I'm not going to.
Okay.
I promise you, I won't get a building without equipment lockers. How's that sound? Can we make that, if we can walk this path, I will make sure the officers have adequate.
You know what?
locations
If you
in
make
space.
the evidence room like I see on TV, then please.
Jason heard it first, straight from you. That's Counselor Baker on the record.
He's only one vote. He does, we put up with him, but we
I
don't
will
know.
let you guys. There is a line item on the budget for lockers that equates to about $60,000.
There you go.
With bench built in. Yep.
Dan.
Nice.
Yes.
Council
Yep.
Mark. Yep.
Yep.
That's a good touch. Thanks. Council Marks.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to clarify a bit, Jacob, on some of the numbers. I heard Clint say it's actually 3.5, and then I heard you say that's the purchase of the building, but I was under the impression that 3.5 was the difference between doing what we're shown here and that the extra 500,000 was adding the Sally Port, and it was not the cost of the building. So I think I want to be clear for us as a council and a community. My understanding is the 3.5 is not about the cost of purchasing the building. It's about adding the Sally Port. Am I wrong?
Correct. It's a $3 million construction budget with an extra $500,000 estimated for a Sally Port, which they need to design. So all in 3.5, and that includes the design cost. It does not include the purchase price.
Thank you. And just one other clarifying question on the layout design. The other thing on the basement level I was looking at, can you tell me about what is the quiet room?
So the quiet room is a space that that is earmarked for staff. It's something that came from the law enforcement consultants that Benchmark used, to where it could be a space where, we're fortunate that we don't have to deal with it all the time, but if staff had to go deal with something that was especially traumatic, or they were just having a bad day, or we had a female officer that needed a private space, they could go use that as a space that would be away from where all the operations are going, and it would be a room where staff could go to.
Thank you.
So it's kind of a forward-thinking room, to be completely honest.
Nice. Anybody have, I wanted to ask one thing about process, but I have one other question about parcels. While we have Jason, anybody else, any member of the public like to be heard on this action item?
Elevator, basement, ADA, how do people get down there?
Just,
That might have an issue.
yep. Is there ADA?
So Jason, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but part of the purchase of this building is that my staff, being law enforcement officers, they don't need to have a reasonable accommodation made for them, because if they can't traverse a set of stairs, then they wouldn't be able to complete the essential functions of their job. Therefore, the building doesn't need to have an elevator, because and that's why I spoke to the purpose of if any member of the public wanted to or came into the police department, they would come in through the first floor, and there really is no need for any member of the public, if they had any ADA concerns, to access any of the basement space, because it would be what I would call kind of back of the house stuff, locker rooms, changing areas, equipment storage and such.
So the evidence technician will be a sworn officer.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Not somebody with other issues.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Correct.
Thank you. All right.
I'll add.
Oh, good, Jason.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say that I will add there's a number of different codes to cross-examine when it comes to compliance with ADA. All of those codes have been reviewed against how the state of Maine requires it, and this building has been designed to be ADA compliant.
Excellent. I wanted to ask about, and this is maybe out of left field, but the parcel has frontage on both Myrtle Street and Main Street and Pine Street. So anything about this design? It's got 50 feet of frontage on Myrtle Street. Is there anything about this design or the parking lot? What's the thinking? Have you thought outside the box about that connectivity? And we're going to be doing we're talking later in the meeting about a visioning process, or starting a committee to look at our downtown. So I just kind of wanted to see what.
There's been conversations. The budget does not bear the dreams and wishes. It bears the cost to fix the building.
Yep.
And get a site workable as it sits. We've looked at everything from right now, the current design will leave an exit only for police use only in the near intersection side. And then the remainder will be an in and out for the general public at large, and what would be the preferred single entrance. My goal that I've shared with the team, if we can figure it out, to get rid of the second one-way out only, in preference of a Myrtle Street exit. But again, that's going to have a cost, and we can't achieve all of our dreams in 1 year. So we're going to leave some things on the to-do list.
Yep.
And hopes list, but we want to get to the other side of this and see what the hometown
Yeah,
committee, the
Heart
home committee.
of Orono Maine Committee, if
Yes.
a pending council approval.
Yes, if
Um,
they could look at some of these and share some insights of what the community thinks would be good, but that's where we're kind of at. And the last one on the dream is we'd like to have some sort of green space on the front side that would be tie together, I guess, the downtown from, this little neighborhood of the municipal complex to the bridge.
Yeah, I get that it's not something that's part of this plan, but if it's an option for the future, be kind of cool to have a shortcut to the library that only Orono residents know about, some kind of secret, All right, thank you. That's very helpful. And in terms of sequencing, we're going to act on this tonight, and continuing the work with Benchmark for phase 2. Then what? What is phase 2? When is phase 3? When is phase done?
So pending council approval,
Mhm.
very shortly, I'm going to hope.
It's looking good.
Jason has told me that the bulk of the work is really going to start. So we're going to spend the next 4 to 5 months working really closely with Benchmark and CWS to get the final architecturally stamped plans done. My goal would be, first time Jason's hearing this, my goal would be to be back here to the council. There's only 2 meetings, one in June and one in July. The one in June, he's probably going to tell me it's too soon, but I'm going to shoot for it. Either the June meeting or the July 13th meeting to seek approval for the final budget. And then he'd be digging a hole in July or August and we'll be moving. And he says it's about a 12-month construction plan. So provided the council approves it tonight, we'll spend the next 4 to 5 months getting stamped architectural plans. We'll come back to you guys in June or July, with a final budget and an actual picture to what Council Marks was talking about. That was when we can actually have some visual aids that we can give people and show them this is what the police department will be to a very high level, guaranteed. And then we can be
Summer
moving in July of 28.
28 or 27?
July of 28. We would be moving in July of 28. We're going to break ground in July of 27, provided that it gets approved.
Oh,
It's a 1 year construction.
We're going to break
timeline.
ground in July. We're going to break ground in July of 26.
Sorry, Sorry.
And
My
move
years
in
are
in
messed
July
up.
of 27.
Sorry.
But I heard you gave me an extra year. That was nice of you, Dan.
See, I took a month away from you, so I gave you an extra year.
Take $1 million off the price and you can have that extra year.
Yeah.
The only problem with that is it gives me 12 months of liquidated damages on my own end, so I don't want to do that.
Well, that's
Oh.
exciting.
Yeah. So I would say that this is a project, when Jason and I spoke, even though this is an estimated budget, he is very confident that his team can accomplish the work in the year timeline and that we were able to make the budget that will get us what we need. And as I've explained, as he's told me, if you guys liked loosely what he presented, I've been told that the architectural designs and the final things that I'll bring forward in June and July will be that much better. He tells me that's a 30% design, so I thought it was 80 or 90.
Perfect.
So, I'm told that it'll get much better.
Well, it sounds like a foundational event for Orono Festival Days in the fall of 2027 for those who are keeping track of what to do for Orono Festival Days.
I think you could have
year and a half from now.
You could have a ribbon cutting
Yeah.
this fall because he's going to be doing construction over there. So people are going to definitely start seeing it.
We'll get those shiny little. No, we need the shovels. We'll do the shovel stuff.
Oh,
Or we could sledgehammer.
We've
and
got some
break a
gold
wall.
shovels. We'll bring them out.
We're not a gold shovel town. We're like a regular shovel right out of the pub. I don't want to be anybody getting a picture
I
of me
like
with a gold
that.
shovel. Yeah, we're gonna just get it done.
Dan,
That's
can I
right.
just-
Absolutely.
Thanks,
This is really,
Jason.
thank you, Jason. This is really just, I missed Clint's comments about where I know it's not a permanent necessary entrance and exit, and I heard that we still do have the right of way down to Myrtle, and that could change in the future, but temporarily, where is the entrance that the public would use into the parking lot?
so the entrance that's there existing right now that's open is, again, we've talked about this in the plans. They'll talk about widening that entrance so that you can more easily fit 2 cars in and out. And then, as Clint mentioned, this entrance that's over here closest to the traffic lights is going to be a emergency vehicle only exit. Should this one be blocked or should we need to get out, staff could get out that way. So we figured that let's keep the land that we got now and the parking lot design. It was designed to have cars pull through there, right? Like the bank was built that way. So until we have a better idea as to what may happen in downtown, we'll leave that exit. This one right here that's next to the bus stop is already blocked off. That'll actually get blocked off permanently. And there will be that one main entrance that's right here closest to where the council chambers is. But they'll do a parking lot redesign that'll all be part of the final drawings.
But I guess my question is, we're not going to do too much on the parking lot, hopefully, until the downtown committee has had time to really meet and talk, right?
Yes.
So
Sorry.
no real big design happening out there, entrance staying pretty much where it is right now. And okay, that's helpful. Thank
Yes,
you.
no, sorry. To Clint's point, the budget doesn't support building a new road down to another area until we have a better idea as to what's going to happen along the Route 2 corridor. So my mistake. I misunderstood your question.
Okay. Anything else?
So,
Council Baker?
well, just what exactly are we being asked to approve?
Money.
I promised you,
And that's fine. Just what and how much?
you gave
All
me
of
the
it.
design budget only. We're still on budget with the design budget, and the council told me I could not move forward unless we showed a budget that was close to or on budget. Goal was 3 million. We're at 3 million with no Sally port. We're asking for permission to move forward at 3.5 with a Sally port, and I've shared in the memo. That's the amount of money that's been allocated through all the processes that we've done.
Oh, I understand. I'm not going to vote against this. I just want to know what we're
Yeah,
actually voting.
3.5 with a Sally port, and come back with a final contract for the council to review and approve to authorize construction. Yep.
So you get another bite at the apple if for some reason you think you need it, but hopefully you don't. Small bite. Yeah.
Small bite, because we'll be in
Don't.
it a lot of money come
Yeah.
June or July. if We say no.
Not yet.
As
Just,
Jason explained it to me, this is the litmus test. If the council is
yeah.
not loving this number, it's
Yeah.
they don't go down typically, but that doesn't mean that we won't seek grants to stay on budget.
Right, so there's possibilities of grants, and we've heard there is a 6% contingency, and we also have a design where, although clearly I hear that we would like a Sally port, and I do understand why it's important, there is also that wiggle room if things come in high, that may or may not be something we get. Am I understanding correctly? That we still have 2 budgets? We have, this is 2.9 without, and it's 3.5 with at the moment. So as long as we stay in that, we're saying yes to the Sally port. But if all of a sudden the building cost is 3.3, are we going to come back and have a discussion about the Sally port, or do we not know that yet?
Too early to tell. Yeah, but we'll have, we'll keep talking it through but it's important that we give staff direction and opportunities to be successful. And it feels like that's what tonight's vote's about. And if something comes back that's not successful, we're going to have another conversation regardless, but we can dig into the hows and the whys. Something didn't go the way we expected it to later on. That make sense? All right. We ready to vote? Okay, great. All those in favor? Excellent. That's unanimous. So thank you so much. Really appreciate
you.
the work. And Jason, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. Okay. That was so looking at time, we're at 5:05 and I see the director of the library coming up, so that tells me where we are. We are on order. Really unfortunate page break. Yeah, that's all right. Order 2636, authorizing the town manager to reallocate $31,299.93 from the Park Library Trust balance and $7,529.59 from the construction reserve funds and $11,673.48 from the maintenance reserve to the new dedicated library construction account. Lori Carpenter.
Thanks, Lori Carpenter, Library Director. So yes, we're asking to create a dedicated account for the construction. And the Helen Park Trust, we've been a recipient of since 2005, when Helen passed away. She was the daughter-in-law of the original owner of Parks Hardware, if anybody remembers Parks Hardware. That opened in 1892. So we now have over $31,000 in that account. We also have two reserve accounts, the construction reserve, which we're kind of putting into the maintenance reserve, and then combining everything to make $50,500 to go into this account. Little over 11,000 of it will be dedicated to replacing the village green. So you will hear about this later tonight, some plans that we have to move the village green in order to accommodate the expansion design. So this is all money that's already there. We just want to combine it together. So it'll also help the foundation reach its fundraising goal. You'll also hear more about that later tonight. And there will also continue to be a maintenance reserve of over $59,000. So if you have any other questions that I haven't covered.
Any clarifying questions? Any comments from the public? Any deep dive discussions by council? All those in favor? Oh,
Motion.
all those in favor? Thank you. And apologies for my,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Lori. All right. Can I have a motion? Thank you. To put order 2637 on the table, an order approving the FY 2027 capital improvement program.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We had a public hearing at the start of this meeting. We had a public hearing at our
Meeting,
last meeting
conversation, not a hearing.
conversation.
Yeah.
So anything else? The program speaks for itself in a lot
I
of
would
ways?
just, yeah, the only thing I would just say is this is a new process. We're much earlier in the year, but this is the new, we recognized last year, the capital improvement program by charter supposed to be adopted before we build the budget, where it's normally been a component of the final budget. The distinction we made as a community, to remind everyone, is that the capital improvement program is a program, a plan. Best case scenario, it's giving you a good inventory and telling the community we know what we have to maintain to run our town. The budget will then determine what we can fund. And this one's a line, we've done a lot of work coming into this regarding debt service, so forth. You did get a memo from me that we can add into the packet afterwards that summarizes the changes. We did have a conversation a few weeks ago, gave some great insights. It was just a draft, so there was still some rough edges. We're 2 months earlier than normal doing this, so it was a little bit of a change to adapt our schedules to get it, but we did make all the changes you had recommended. The only one that, and I probably should have added in the memo, that a change that was talked about, and I had 2 different notes on, was there was a conversation about the Orono survey and how to create a fund. And although I know there was some requests of could we put that into this budget, my notes kind of said is that we thought we'd leave this and wrestle with the budget when maybe we had some better numbers. So that's The last thing to repeat, I guess, is worth mentioning is that we can fund a different amount in the annual budget than the capital program. Yes, you have a hearing, but it's just a hearing to prove we know what we own and what we're going to do with it. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Any clarifying questions for the manager?
I have some.
Yep. Go ahead, Shar.
Yes, thanks so much. I have some clarifying questions in the appendices. I know you call our attention last time, and again in this memo to appendices A through C. I'm looking at Appendix B, and wondering if you could speak to the difference in what I'm seeing in Appendix B here from what we saw in the last version in Appendix B. As a quick look on my end, it seems to me the version we saw previously, the total at the bottom for every year starting in FY26 was about 1.8 million, and now we're looking at 2.6. So I can see individually, it looks largely that this is a lot on there was no public works separate equipment line, I think, last time around. It was sort of one combined line of public works equipment, roads, and miscellaneous. So I think a big chunk of that increase is, when I look at the numbers, they're adding to more on the two lines than they were on the one line before. But I see other figures that have changed. And I guess I don't remember our discussion. There might have been something specific that we talked about wasn't included that we wanted added here. But if you could speak to that 800,000 jump and where it's coming from, I think that's important. Thanks.
So B now closely aligns with A in that we're showing what everything was requested by the departments in the appendices A, which is a very detailed department by department. B rolls it up into a one pager so people can see it in one page as to what was coming forward. The key difference is there was some Parks and Rec had some different dollar amounts because of the way they were budgeting. Public Works equipment was changed so that because we were doing none this year, but we're doing more next year. But again, out years are always subject to change year to year. And then the fire department budget, we wanted to make sure it was fully highlighted. And there was a question about the dollar amounts, actually 490, I gotta get my glasses, 494,281. And that's new this year. The fire department equipment is being expressed as an annual need to maintain all their equipment. So that's the annualized cost. Doesn't represent a debt service, doesn't represent buying any one piece of equipment in a given year. That's where we're trying to refine back. Everybody knows we have a $2 to $2.5 million ladder truck that's on its last year of the 20-year plan, but we have saved not enough money. There's only $198 in our reserve. So we're looking at solutions for the ladder truck moving forward and how we could fund that. But at $500,000 a year, if you could start today and did that every year, you'd never need to borrow money to pay for the equipment if you can do well on your interest rates for these investments to maintain them. So that's where we're starting with that one. That's probably to highlight as to the change from last year to this year.
I actually wasn't looking to last year. I was looking at the last version that we saw of this as a council. So last month. And I think the fire line has stayed exactly the same. I see no changes there.
It matches between the two now. I know that was one of the changes.
The fire line looks exactly the same since what we last saw. The big change looks like it's in Public Works. Public Works was one line before combined a month ago. It's now two lines. And as far as I can tell, the figures we saw last month are still all exactly the same on the line marked now Public Works Roads Infrastructure. But there's a whole additional line about Public Works equipment.
Yeah, I don't have that one. I'd have to go back and pull it. I was prepared for that, but I do believe that was the difference, that we did not have the equipment lines in there. So it's now representing the total of the two. And what we fund on a year-to-year basis, again, can change, but that was showing the total equipment needs versus the total infrastructure, which is your roads, highways, paving, et cetera.
I mean, other things have gone up a little bit, but it is a really significant jump, right? It's 800,000 higher every year, starting in 28 going forward. So I do think it's important to call that to council's attention, that that's a significant increase from what we saw a month ago. And I believe that it's necessary. I was curious, how did we miss the entire public works equipment? We just weren't finished with that? Was there a notation last time that we hadn't finished that budget, as I remember?
I think, yeah,
Yeah.
and again, when we get all the appendices together, I cleaned up all of them to represent it better. But I mean, this does go back to the same story as last year and the analysis I've had since getting here. You've underfunded capital needs of Orono as a community. This still doesn't include your buildings. It does not include the maintenance of these buildings. It does not include a road rating system, if you will. So again, we're doing our best based upon our knowledge and expertise, but we're now working towards the road ratings. So next year, the big change is going to be facilities and road ratings. And that's probably going to see those numbers continue to climb, as well as inflation. But again, each year we're working towards, and if you can look at the year one, we're at 1.6 million. That's that's actually all tax dollars. Last year we were at 1.47. So we're a little bit up right now coming into the budget. But again, that's based upon the criteria of the things that we set out. We are working on some other options. I know even as recently, it was a week or so ago, we had good information coming in on the bridge and the lighting work that we need over there. So staff's beginning to look at that as we come into the budget phase.
And I think leads into my second question on this page, if I can
Yep.
ask that one.
How about, yeah, we've got, we're supposed to start at 5:30 with the workshop, and then we can extend that, push that back a little bit. Is this going to be, do you think, it's just a matter we should table and have a conversation about at the next meeting if these are specific things that we need to go through, or?
I don't need to go through them in detail. I need us to have a big picture conversation that we just jumped 800,000 from what we last saw. And I think that's important as a council that we see that. I believe.
And I'm asking you
that
if
it's
you think we
necessary.
should table it so we can talk about it. If it's going to be 15 or 20 minutes, I think we should table it for the next meeting, but
I don't know. I'll ask the question and then I think Clint
Okay.
can answer if it's easy or not. I don't know how fast it is.
Okay.
So the second question I have is on when we're looking at FY27, as you pointed out, we're at 1.6, basically 1.6 million. And then for every year going forward after that, so starting in FY28, we're at 2.6. So that's $1 million higher starting the following year. And you're saying that in FY26 this year, we're at 1.5 basically?
Mhm.
Okay. So that great big $1 million jump, I wasn't sure if we were already at that level now and this coming year was just a dip, but it is not a dip. So we're actually looking at a significant $1 million increase starting in FY28 that we will need to be able to fund going forward.
Yep. And again, it's a plan. So the year in front of you is the most important. That's why Appendix C is the same appendix that you will see in the budget. We may change it for the budget presentation. I know the first version you'll see next week will be identical because we haven't had enough time to analyze what else we might change. But yes, that is exactly what you're seeing. And I'm telling you, 2.6 is low. So you're going to be continually underfunding your capital program going forward because we can't afford it. That's a problem we're going to have to leave for another day. There's not enough debt service out there to fix it in the short term, so we'll just keep working at it.
But it's really important, I think, again, for council to see and be aware of that there's still a problem there, that we haven't figured out that gap. We can't ultimately push that down the road forever without that being something that's impossible, not possible, but very bad for our facilities and our equipment. So I want to highlight it. I don't need a big discussion about it, but I think council needs to be really aware of it, that there are two things in that document that are pretty significant to note. And I do have one tiny thing that's not anything specific, just on your vision and goals edition, which I think was on page 8. I think that's probably a wrong date because you mentioned council in the fall of 2026 reviewing something, and we already, I don't know.
All of 27.
Yep.
I was thinking perhaps that's what you meant, but I'm not sure. Was that something you wanted us to do this year for 28?
Yeah, so you called out that the reserves have never been reviewed by council for their purpose, and
26
that's
sounds
correct.
good. We
Yeah,
can do it
so-
in 26. I just wanted to be sure because it said 26 for 28. So we would do it in 26, but for the FY28 budget,
Correct.
which is really 27. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. Appreciate the moving through that. Anything else? Any other questions or comments? Yeah, Councilor Artis?
I know with time crunch, before we begin, I just want to remind everybody, even in the back, I've lived here for 29 years. I've watched the development of the fire department for 34 years. I also know what potential our other departments have, especially Park and Rec, projects with Public Works. We're just not at that point in the budget process for me to stomp my feet. Clint took some time with me to talk about my concerns about not including turnout gear in the capital improvement budget. I've looked back at some of our budget meetings, and when the funding for gear was removed from the last budget, it was with the comment, we are looking into a grant. I know from our conversation, you said that staff is working on this. Just wondering, where are we at with our grant review? And do we have an inventory about the maximum age of the turnout gear that is in use?
So the plan is in place is for the operating budget. We determined at $6,000 to $8,000 per set of gear. That is something we're going to look at in the operating with $30,000 in the operating budget that will come out for next year. So it's not going to be a capitally funded item. They do deteriorate quickly. They'd be hard to depreciate. There's multiple factors that can come into that. They are still recordable in our over $5,000 capital disclosures reports, but that's something we use for audit purposes. The bigger thing is for the inventory, that's what I would lean on the fire department. I'd have to get that information to come to you. I've been told conversationally that we have the system that we use is based upon best use. I confirmed with all of them. I want to make sure everybody's got safe gear and everybody has gear that is safe and been certified. Does that mean it's optimal? Definitely not. Some cases they're hand-me-downs from former officers that may be of similar size. But that you would want to have custom fit for all the firefighters if you could. So they're looking at that and building a new plan forward at 30,000 a year. And we're hopeful between now and year end, we could maybe free up some more, but I haven't seen that plan yet from the chief. But he is working on that.
Okay. And we have safer funds and reserves, and we've already discussed funding the positions in the budget. Will we have an option in the year to reallocate those funds possibly towards equipment or other needs in the department?
Any reserve can be reallocated by council if you ask. We could have a conversation. I haven't done that yet. We haven't got to the number we need yet or what the other options would be. But that would certainly be one you could consider as a council if you wanted to.
Okay. And I've spoken with Lauren Jellison, who's a family nurse practitioner in the Bangor area. Lauren graduated in 2022 with her master's capstone in Humane School of Nursing, family nurse practitioner, and her research was in turnout gear, PFAS, life of the gear. And our family, the fire department next door, took part in that research study. And I do have information from Lauren that I can share with everyone in regards to what happens as gear is used and it's broken down and the potential for liabilities. So that's all. Cool.
Okay. Council Baker?
Sorry, I was trying to feverishly follow what Clint and Sarah were talking about with regards to the schedule, and it's next year, so I guess I'm not going to hold the process up, but if we wanted to punt this, given that if I see what Sarah's seeing, 28 is adding an extra 800,000 to our capital plan, I would be in support of punting this another week. Sorry, I was following it as you were talking, so.
So can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
How are we going to fix an $800,000 shortfall in 1 week? It's the reality that we're exposing the program and the plan that we're underfunding it. And I told you I would bring that information and be very transparent with it. These are the real needs of this town, and it's not all we have. We have no facilities budgeted at all. We're probably slightly underfunding our roads. We can talk about 2028, or we can actually say we've got a good plan for 2026. We're seeing the problem going forward. It's probably more about adopt the program with the disclosure that we've got a lot of work to do over the next year. Not only defining your reserves, but how do we fund this in the long term? Right now, I don't think you can pull it out in this budget season to figure out how we could prepare for next budget season. It's just not. But again, we're looking at options, but staff couldn't even build you options in 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We're not ready for that.
No, I understand that. And it's not that I'm not appreciative of the work. It's
So
a big change, but Clint is right. It's not going to get fixed in a week or 2 weeks. So I guess I will defer to the will of the council on it.
And if the council wants to table it, but again, there's not a lot of work that's going to happen in the next week or two on this. The timelines we built would say this is your program and we know the problems.
would it make sense though to table it for a week, get a memo back from you what the changes were, and just so we have. Go ahead, Jacob. No.
No, I was just gonna say Clint explained the changes to us,
Yeah.
so I guess I don't. That's why I appreciate you trying to acquiesce, but
Yep.
yeah,
Okay.
I think that one thing that would be helpful, Clint, is in this summary memo, to highlight that a little more clearly on what has changed on Appendix B. Because, what has changed since we last saw it is this big $800,000 jump. And I think for anyone in the public or elsewhere who comes back to look at this and try to understand, it's important that that is called out. That I believe you pointed out to us that there was a line we weren't clear on yet the last time we saw it, and we now are clear. And I think it's important to note that that happened. So I think that's fine.
Do you want a motion to table?
I don't feel the need to table. We have the answers. What I do feel is to look at my fellow counselors and say, we have a problem here. Like, this is kind of a cliff coming at us, and we need to think about it as we are doing our budgeting. Part of it is what we spend this year, and what we don't spend this year affects how much more we have to spend next year if we continue to push. So I hope that staff will continue to bring us their ideas of what we need to do on this, and that we as counselors will take this duty seriously, that there is an unsolved problem here that we do need to solve, not for this budget, but it's got to be solved eventually, or we have a big ongoing problem.
Okay. All right. Is there any more conversation on Order 2637?
I just had one question, Clint. Can you tell us where the unassigned fund balance change happened? I looked all through this and it's on your town finances and I can't find it. So if you don't know now, it's fine, but could you email us where the unassigned fund balance change happened? It's on your memo.
It's coming in your audit. I just got it. That's unaudited. It's still noted.
Okay, so
the
it's
draft
not in
audit
the
gave me that
current
number.
document we've got. It's just your note says town finances were changed with an updated FY 2025 unassigned fund balance, but where is
In the
that?
chart. And that memo explained it. There's a chart in the capital program at the beginning that shows what our balances are. It's dropped.
Okay, I don't know where that is all I'm saying. If you could get us a page number at some point, that might help me. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. All those in favor of Order 2637? Okay, that's unanimous. Thanks for the work. Looks like a lot of people are showing up for the town council chair update coming up in the agenda. I wanted to ask, we had the library workshop was scheduled to start at 5:30. I wanted to ask if there was an interest and willingness to suspend the council meeting until after the library workshop so that people are here for the workshop. We can proceed directly to that, and then we can do the final bits on our council meeting after the workshop.
I think it's fine as long as we ask if anyone in the public is here for anything else that was supposed to happen sooner.
Sure. That's a good question. That's a good point. You guys will, all right, we'll vote on it. But first, I want to ask, is there anyone in the public who's here on something for the council agenda other than the library item? Okay. I will move that we suspend the town council meeting until later in the evening after the workshop on the library.
So moved.
Moving seconded. Is that proper?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Yep. That's unanimous. So why don't we hold off? We got a couple minutes to go for the library team to set up, and then it gives us a chance for a quick break. I don't want to talk about what the break's for in front of so many people, but we'll be right back. You all right?
Yeah, Appendix B is broke. I just saw it.
Punch it. All right, welcome back. This is the, we're continuing. We suspended the Orono Town Council meeting to hold our workshop on the library, which was extremely well attended. We appreciate everyone who came out for that conversation. That'll be on the YouTube channel if you're back and missed it. But now we're reconvening the March 2nd meeting of the Orono Town Council. And up next is Order 2638, in order approving the creation of the Heart of Orono Main Committee, accepting the proposed charge and structure, and appointing John Quinn as a town council representative as recommended by the Community Development Committee. Could I have a motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Matt, do you want to lead the conversation as the chair of the Community Development Committee?
Sure. So we, as part of the Community Development Committee, we have been approach, well, actually, we've been charged by this committee on hearing EJ Roach's like presentation on downtown work that he's done in other communities and hopes to do here with, it's not just revitalization, but it's like planning for and utilizing our downtown to the best opportunity as a community. And as part of that work, we've decided to make a committee and structure and charge to help facilitate going forward for a vision for downtown Orono. And we as a committee have come up with the name, the Heart of Orono Main Committee. And the charge is to put together a visionary working group of community members to help guide future work and planning for what we want to see downtown be. What is it going to be for the community? What is it going to be for the businesses? What is it going to be for us residents? How do we want it to function? How do we want it to look? And so this charge is part of that, and we have the structure and the plan. Do you want anything more about it?
Just that this was our work was in response to we had the presentation from EJ about the visioning process. And then we had at our meeting on February 9th, we had an order from the council directing us to consider this. And so it came to us. And then at our most recent meeting, we came up with this charge in response to what we heard from the council. And we look forward to going ahead and doing this work. I do want to ask, do you think, given that we missed a meeting last week with the blizzard, I don't know, it wasn't that blizzardy here, but it had the potential to be blizzardy. Do we need to alter the timing at all in this work? And thank you to John for agreeing to kind of be the council lead on it.
I had a thought on
Yep, go ahead.
So the project timeline's at the end. So originally you were thinking of establishing the committee last week, is that right? On the 23rd. And then you were expecting the applications to all come in by the 9th of March. That feels short to me just to begin with. That's only 2 weeks. I think I would like to see at least a 3-week window because we have to get the word out in the community. And I do know that our current schedule, our next council meeting after this one is 2 weeks from today. But we have a meeting on the 30th.
To get the 9th, right? Is that a?
Sorry. I don't mean the next one. Sorry. You're right. We've got the 9th. And then 2 weeks after that, we have one on the 23rd, which is 3 weeks. But we also do have a budget workshop on the 30th. And I just wonder if we could add a very short council meeting on the 30th so we could accept applications for 3 weeks and then have council have an executive session to appoint on the 30th. And that would put the first meeting into April, though, for this group, not on you. You guys had highlighted the 30th of March. But I feel like a 1 week.
About the last,
yeah,
that's fine with me. We could do the 30th and then let's do that. If that's okay.
Clint, does that seem reasonable? I know. But I think that would give us 3 weeks to accept applications up until the 23rd. And then time for staff to process those and get them out to us in the agenda before the third meeting on the 30th. We could have an executive session vote on the 30th, and the committee could be meeting as soon as the first week of April, if that works for folks.
Sure. Okay. Any other discussion on this particular item?
I have one other thing.
Yeah, Council Marks.
First of all, this is great. It's really lovely. It's a great charge. I love the name. I just love everything you guys did with it. And my only thing is, I understand the need to keep committees small, but when I looked at the ideal committee being 5 to 7 people, and then I know the only requirement is a business owner, but there are like 4 other categories we'd like to have folks in listed. And I think some categories are missing. So the ones that seem missing to me were something about artists and folks with experience in community artwork and community building, farmers market kind of people. I feel like there's something about art and beauty that doesn't have a category. I don't know that it has to be an added category, but I do think I would like to suggest that we give ourselves a little more flexibility and maybe say 5 to 10 folks on the committee instead of 5 to 7, because otherwise, if we get great people in every one of those categories, we wouldn't be able to fill them all. So I'm wondering about maybe adding a category about, artists or folks with experience in community arts and beautification efforts, and then maybe giving ourselves a little more wiggle room on the size of the committee.
Would it be bad if we see what applications come in and then we'll just expand it on the 30th to max 10
Right.
on the 30th if we get that many? Otherwise, let's just keep it as is. Is that okay?
I still think my goal would be to not hit 10, but I do think that the arts and the beautification part is
That's fine.
important. And if we get great applicants, I don't want to be stuck at 7 if we really feel like we'd like to be, 8 or something or 9. So I'd feel more comfortable if we gave ourselves a little more wiggle room.
All right, well, we worked on that as a group, and I'm certainly open to the change on the timing. And I don't know if we want to have, do you think we need to amend this thing on the fly or just kind of as the,
I mean, it
You
says
made
like-
notes on the attachments.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think you need to amend the motion at all,
Right.
unless you wanted to call it out as something additional.
I mean, could we just amend to say 5 to 10 and something about arts on the list? Arts and beautification? I don't know. If people don't think that's important, that's fine, but I've just had like literally half a dozen folks in the community whose perspective is about community arts and beautification of the downtown area.
send them our way and we'll look at them.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what I would suggest you do. And, all right, so is there any more discussion? Clint, you're gonna make the changes we talked about in the chart? Okay.
I put the new projected timeline in already, so
Okay.
it's all there. Yep.
Okay. All right. Any more questions or suggestions to the resolution as proposed in the agenda? Okay. All those in favor? Order 2638?
We have the wiggle room to go higher or not? 7, yes?
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
I'm
I
there.
think
I'm
we-
in.
Send them our way. Just send them our way.
Yep.
My next question is I'm assuming that's the whole council on the 30th.
It's
The whole-
send it.
So that's a procedural question that I don't think we need in the vote, but I sent it to staff. The procedure typically for folks applying for committees is that there's already an existing application on our website.
Yeah.
If you're interested in being on a board or committee, fill out this short application. And it has most of the things that this is asking for, but not all. So it doesn't have anything on there specifically to say what information do you believe is helpful for downtown planning. So are we looking to alter the existing application online to include that question?
Yeah.
Or- Okay, and there'll be a link on the website and it will go on every part of our social media and all of us should,
Already being planned. We started on it
okay, and when will we get that link to share out to folks?
this week, day or two.
Sounds great, thanks.
All right. Okay, that completes our action items. Now we'll do council committee reports. And we've heard a lot from you, Matt, already, but you got anything for us?
Nope, no update. We already had an update on what we're doing in terms of the Orono stops at the beginning of this, and now we have approved the next part that the council has asked us to that we've been charged with.
You're a tough act to follow, but we'll see if Jacob can do that with the finance committee.
No updates.
Oh.
Until February meeting.
Nominations, evaluations, and council policies committee.
We are meeting, is it this week? Glenn? Yep, this week, I think, next week, 1 week from now. We are getting close on the policy procedures manual. It's out for review by the town attorney. And we're working on bringing you all a slate in March, hopefully, I guess, for folks, for all the various other boards and committees in town, other than the new one created.
And talking about calendar tomorrow, you and me. Yep. You gonna send me something or did you already? Oh, nice, thanks. Ordinance review committee, Andrea, do you want to take that or you want me to do it? Okay. We got a great update. Shelley, no offense to people that staff other committees, but she's a force. Did a great job kind of representing where we are with the ordinance review committee and the work we're doing. We are, in the process. I didn't run for the Orono Town Council promising to eliminate dozens and dozens of pages of ordinances, but that's the work we're doing, and it's important. And appreciate the chance to have the public hearing coming up on the roads and parking. DEIB.
No updates right at this moment.
Okay. Council Chair reminder, we got the first bagels. We've been invited by the non-traditional Catherine, the commuter students, Catherine Sagada, I apologize, Catherine, is invited us to participate in the first Friday bagel. I think John, you and I are planning to go. Is anyone else going to join us? Council Marks is going to join us We don't have to notify that anyway, do we? That they're going to be 3 counselors in the same place at the same time?
I gotta look, but as long as you're not talking, you're there to listen. It's just like going to the
Well, I'm
movie at the same time.
Going to
saying
hand out
you're
some
gonna
bagels and probably some Orono flyers or something if Cody gives us something.
Do not
but-
discuss town business.
Yeah,
Yep.
kind of like the dunk tank, right? So we didn't have to.
Yep.
All right. There will be no dunk tank this time. And I wanted to share, we've got a good neighbor committee meeting scheduled for next Monday. We're going to get a report from the town manager and the police chief on the disorderly ordinance activity, which will be helpful. And we worked with the humane student representatives to prepare some potential changes for the Good Neighbor Committee to look at, which I think are make a lot of sense. You know, we're never going to collect $1 million in fines from people. So so we're going to talk about how to make some updates that I think will be helpful. So that concludes the chair's update for this evening. Town manager's report.
Yeah, so wrote this a little bit, but we kept the same agenda. Request for bids on roadway crack sealing. That's under the new bid limits, but it is going out, and I just thought I'd make you aware. I don't expect this will exceed it because the budget's over, but just letting you know. Gift policy, I think we've had a short conversation. We are going to do a new personnel employee handbook. It does not have an updated gift policy, but I've already got Shelley who's shared with me some concepts. We had a nice meeting to talk about things that we could do to make it better based upon staff input. So we'll be working on that. Talk to you on timing. We might hold it for 1 year and just do it in next year's amendments because we would have to do a new public hearing and it may just make sense to hang on to it. The project canopy tree grant, here to notify you, we received it. You had already authorized us to accept it if we did, and we did get it. So I'm just kind of coming back. I like to tell you when we get them. That's and again, that's actually going to be working towards the address 20 Penobscot Streets where it's being applied. There's a project over there they wanted to use the money for. March 9th, this was a future agenda item. We have queued up for the camping discussion. That's going to be at the beginning of the agenda. Staff's just giving you some general background. I just wanted to clue you in that we're looking for direction. There's no memos, no recommendations because we don't have the council input yet to suggest where we should or shouldn't be going. The AI policy in the handbook. I want to just remind the council that AI policy, you've seen it, you've read it. It's in that handbook for the new version this year. That would be one of those ones we're working on this list that would apply to you. You shouldn't be doing town business on AI supported information without making the town office aware of what you're using. And unlicensed software is not the right place to be doing it. Never say an employee's name, birthday, social security, etc. That's the short version of some of those, but just wanted to pass that out. Those are considered some of the best practices. And I will add, that's been one of my training areas for this year, doing an awful lot around not just the AI and the rules, but how we can leverage it as a team. One of the concepts I'm working on that we're going to work on is how AI can be a thought partner, quote unquote. And that's what we're starting to move towards. I found a few TED Talks I don't like, but I found a couple podcasts that were great around it. So I've been doing some work there. And then the last one, the CIP that came up, and I felt like we were a little rushed here at the end of the meeting today, getting into the next one, and that's okay. I did hear you all. I always hear you. I even go back to the meeting to make sure if I didn't hear it right, I hear it again. There are a couple things with Appendix B and one of the totaling columns. So this happened the last time, and it's happening again in a different appendix this time, that when we're switching from Google to Excel to bring them into a PDF, one of the sum functions got lost. The year amounts go up to 2.6 million next year, but they fluctuate year to year to year. This is because we haven't figured out how to smooth them out yet. I will do a new Appendix B. It will take just a minute to put a memo with it, and I'll have it on the manager's report either for the 9th or the 23rd, one of the two. But you'll see something on it quick to close the loop. And so you can see that. And any other little questions you had, if you have something you want to follow up, let me know. But Appendix B does need a little bit there. That bottom line is off, and I want to make sure I shared that, and we will fix that. That's it.
So so from a process standpoint, with the purchasing decision or action we took tonight, that ordinances in Orono take 30 days to go into effect, right? So is that, unless we determine otherwise? So is that like when you're doing the work?
So the way we've been doing this is
Yeah.
you're not voting until after the 30-day window's up. So you are taking effect. The ones you approved tonight are in place because you waited the 30-day window. And I think I'm getting that correct, and I'll
I
double
don't
check
think
it.
that's right. I
You
think
have to wait 30 days from the date of the public hearing.
Once it's approved, it takes 30 days before it goes
unless we, so like with the good name, with the disorderly activity stuff we did last summer.
We did an
put it in the
emergency.
date, we had to put something in the, so I don't know, just calling it out for you guys. You're gonna be.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Also, just procedurally, I think I'm so glad you figured out that there's a totaling error because that makes me feel much better because I'm guessing those numbers aren't as high as they looked. But I sort of feel like council should vote again to accept that with the correct numbers because I feel a little uncomfortable having voted on one where the figures are, just mistaken.
yeah, the only
Can we
thing,
just
the
get
capital
on a vote
program
to,
is a,
like-
is a standalone.
Can we just have a vote on the correction to Appendix B?
That's what you'd like.
I would feel better. I don't feel great about having voted on numbers that I don't think are accurate. So.
All right, yeah, let's, probably, I mean, it can come forward as a request to reconsider, right? Because
Yep.
everybody voted for it, so any one of us could ask to do it. Let's.
I'm
think about it.
officially
The
asking.
right could just be consent
Yeah, okay,
calendar, or
good.
do you want to have another
I
discussion?
got it. Subtlety is not your strong suit.
Just
like
know that.
me. Yeah.
Just saying.
Yep,
Dan,
okay.
you and say consent calendar?
I'm comfortable with the consent calendar, and then we can pull it off. if we
Asking.
need to. Yeah.
Any of us can pull it if we're not happy. I
Right.
just would like to see the corrected numbers that you're convinced are accurate.
Okay.
Yep, good.
All right, everybody all right? Anything else under manager's report? Nice job. We don't
Good.
have any public petitions?
Can I just add one quick thing? And it just sparked it when Clint talked about Google to Microsoft. We're going to go through a change here
Oh,
reasonably quickly. Okay. We're trying to work with them to get a specific date. But when that happens for you folks, that changes some things. You will all get emails with kind of instructions on what you need to do. You don't need to change your email, but you just have to access it differently. So I just want to give you that heads up because it is right around the corner and didn't want anybody to be surprised, but there's a lot going on with that.
wait.
Yeah.
Will anything disappear out of our email or will all the old emails still be accessible?
Everything will still be available. You won't, it's just a different place. That's all. All right.
Perfect. Thanks, Mitch. We don't have any public petitions, future agenda items and council requests for supporting items. We had one that we identified ahead of time. Anybody have anything, future agenda items? Yep. We wanted to talk a little bit about the interpretive plan. I think the email that it's in a draft form, so it hasn't been posted with the agenda. But we shared it out. I think I shared it out by email before the Blizzard meeting. But what we've done a lot of work, and we're doing a lot of work to be like, even like you saw it today in the charge to the home committee. We're being really intentional about our work with the Penobscot Nation and including the tribe in our discussions, deliberations. So we wanted to talk further about what kind of process we wanted to take with the as we assess the draft interpretive plan and think about how we move forward with making suggestions to the draft and then implementing, creating expectation on the implementing, with the idea that it's difficult to edit in a public meeting, back and forth and things like that in a meeting that are, if multiple counselors, if we did it in a committee meeting, it's a challenge. Not necessarily a challenge, but I mean, it would have to be a public discussion as opposed to a more concentrated effort for back into deliberations. So people have thoughts?
This to me seems like a perfect work for a committee. I don't know what committee it would fall under.
Yeah. Well, it's a question of whether it's a committee, a council committee that has all the, the obligations around public meetings and notices, or a small working committee of staff and stakeholders with maybe a counselor or two involved in the conversation. DEIB, maybe a member of the DEIB committee.
I think,
kind of thing. Yeah, I like that.
I think Clint could speak a little bit. I think part of what we want to be respectful about is the ask to us right now is to have a preliminary discussion with the McCoy Museum Solutions folks and the Wabanaki consultants who were involved. And Clint, I'd like you to speak on it, but like my understanding is it is going to come to a committee eventually and to the full council and to the public.
Absolutely.
So just to be clear, like this isn't about not being transparent on what this plan is going to be, but the ask right now was to have a preliminary discussion before the draft officially came to the community or whatever committee we send it to, I believe. Is that correct, Clint?
Yeah, I mean, what I would clarify is you got to understand part of this is new and it's a learning process. for lack of a better term, they're a consultant. Staff, if it had an approved consultant, would be working with them closely, but this was heavily council initiated with no committee, but a committee of the whole. This consultant is asked to have a draft reviewed so that there can be a discussion and negotiation of what should or shouldn't come at it. This is a relationship building moment out of respect for each of us, them and us. So we need to go into this and have a conversation with them. That conversation can be at a full council meeting, but again, then that's a whole public meeting, and it's a very significant document. They would prefer, and I think I would agree with them, that at this stage, if we could have a couple staff members and a counselor or two, and maybe a community member. I know there's a few that maybe would be willing to sit in, whether it's DEIB representative. So it seems to be more of a hybrid. You want a separate group or a separate entity just to kind of do it. They will then rework it and present it back to us once it's ready for public review. And then that's when we can have that full council community discussion. This is a better step to get to a better document.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Shane, we're gonna
I think
just a second. You gotta, first of all, if you're gonna participate in the meeting, you gotta come up. So, with the microphone and
But I think the term is a little vague, like it probably should have said regarding a Wabanaki interpretive plan. We began a process several years back, and we hired McCoy Museum Solutions to build a possible Wabanaki interpretive plan for our town and 4 Penobscot consultants working with them, based on the history and culture here present in our town.
okay. Thank you.
I love what Dan said about, I think that I was heavily involved in this effort from the beginning, way back. Some counselors who are no longer here were also very involved. And I feel like, as far as continuity of being aware of the whole process that got us here and all those issues, apart from me, I feel like it's the DIB committee who's been tracking this the most closely. And there are a good number of members there who also are fully aware of the whole history. So I would personally love a model where there's 1 or 2 counselors and 1 or 2 people from the DIB committee, maybe the chairs, or if they don't want to do it, they could figure who else. But that's my preference, because I feel like I also envision that this is a pretty comprehensive plan we're being given. It feels like, the 10-year comprehensive plan to me. It will take a long time to implement all of this. And I love the idea that perhaps the DIB committee could be the committee that would track this with staff going forward. As we've seen, things tend to move better when an existing committee is partnering with staff to keep us moving, especially on the council end. So that's where my opinion is.
And I would second that, knowing who is on the DEIB committee, and some of them were right there at the beginning. And one of the very first things that came up to that committee was issues around our relationship with the Penobscot Nation, and I think that they would be able to at least a representative of that stature from all the way back, I think would be a good place to start in preliminary. I don't think the whole DEIB committee yet, but I definitely think like 1, maybe 2, and we can leave it up to the chairs. I think they would be able to make that assessment.
Now, from anybody else have any thoughts on that before I suggest some or ask about? So procedurally, do we want this to come to the count? Do we want the council order putting 5 people together? We just want to agree that, we're having a public discussion, but I mean, do we want to have an order where we say Sarah and another counselor and 2, do you want to do that? You want to see that on an agenda for approval, or do you not feel like that is? And I'm asking, I really don't have I can go either way. Yeah. Discretion of the chair of the DIB committee, discretion of the chair of the council. Yep. And I'll work with Sarah on who those 2
Does anyone else want to serve? I mean, I don't have to be that person either. I just know I've been tracking it a long time. So
you have a lot of standing with this council. Yeah.
Staff as well. Staff's reviewing it. That's because this is like with any consultant, we're beginning our review process and sharing and leading our leadership. So
we'll ask Sarah to be the point, and I'd be happy to step in if there are things that I can help with. But we'll ask Sarah to be the point. Matt, you'll get us, and get a couple suggestions back to Clint. And Clint, you'll be the staff, you'll be the liaison.
Yep.
With the team that brought it together for us.
Sounds like a plan.
And then we'll have updates on occasion as either the manager's report or the chair's report for. Yep. Great. That sounds like a good fix. All right, thanks for taking the time. Final public comment? Anybody have a final public comment for the Orono Town Council this evening? Seeing none? Good night, Shane. Thanks for coming in. Yep. Yep. We're not coming in for anything after executive session, right?
You are.
We are?
Oh, no, you're not coming out. Well, to close the adjourn the meeting, but no action. Sorry.
Okay, so nothing to stay tuned for?
Nothing to stay tuned for.
Okay. So I will. Place was so full just a little while ago. It was nice. All right, I will ask for a motion to move an executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056A regarding consultation with legal counsel.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Okay, well, good night, Orono, and thanks for sticking with us.